Well, she's 50 years old, you know, made in 34. It's an old car. It's the original engine, I checked. It's got the same gasket bore and stroke, hasn't been changed. This generator, there's an air supply nozzle in there. Beautiful car. Needs a little touching up, but it's a pre-war car after all. I've just redone the brakes. You can still find them. Half the time they turn up by chance. Traction fanatics. 1934. It was a popular car. You can like your Rolls-Royce and be in love with a Traction. I ought to know because I had both. I find there's something really special about it, especially when you go abroad. For foreigners, a Traction really was La Belle France. When they saw it, they used to say, ah, that's the French car. Of course, there are other good French cars, but the Traction was the most prestigious one. Ah, the 11A. So he got it going. Well done.
Bravo! Super!
The 1934 11A. He found it by chance, as usual. Of course, the engine didn't start, not surprising, but he's got it back on the road all right. You see, there's a sack of coal on the roof, look. Well, that's a machine to produce gas, you see. They used to use gas to make it go. Not very good gas either. You lose a third of the power compared with petrol. You light it there, and the gas is made in this generator. It passes under the bodywork and goes into a dust box at the back, called a cooler, you see. There, look. You can see the gas burning.
Au niveau restauration, beaucoup de membres du club travaillent.
A lot of the members of the club work on their own cars to restore them. And the ones like me who don't know much about it do all the dismantling and cleaning and preparation, and then get a real mechanic or a friend who knows how to do it to help us put it together again. Well, obviously for the brakes and the steering, you've got to get someone who really knows what he's doing. But in the club there are several members who are very good at it, and they do the whole restoration job by themselves. In fact, there are even members who've passed a special mechanic's certificate just to be able to work on their car. The car which today still has so many fans was first made in 1934. It took the Salon de l'Auto, the French motor show, by storm, sweeping aside all the technical conventions and establishing a new definition of the automobile. It's so new, so striking, wrote the press at the time. So many original ideas, so different from everything else that there's only one word for it: sensational. 50 years later, the word still applies. This sensational car had two creators. The manufacturer, Citroen, and the engineer, Lefebvre. He said that the balance of a moving object depended on the distribution of weight, heavy at the front and light at the rear. In automotive terms, that's called front-wheel drive. All the mechanical parts are in front and the passengers behind. Comparison with an earlier model, the Rosalie, shows up the advantages of this formula. Here's the Rosalie, driver, passengers and motor in the front, with a drive shaft and rear driving wheels. Let's take away the rear axle. And get rid of the drive shaft. Then we can move the rear wheels back to give a larger wheelbase. The engine and gearbox will control the front wheels, which will become the driving wheels. If we make these changes, we no longer need a tunnel for the drive shaft to go through, so we can have a flat floor and lower the position of the passengers. In this way, we also lower the car's center of gravity, making it more stable. All that's left to do is to redesign the bodywork. A low, sleek profile with aerodynamic lines, and the modern car was born. The Traction is also a very safe car. Look at this old film, first an earlier type. The bodywork is pulverized. If we look at it in slow motion, we can see the accident in dramatic detail. There's really only one solution to the problem of motoring safely, and that's to build all-steel bodywork. Citroen are the only manufacturers in France who have the necessary equipment to perform this very difficult manufacturing. After the waltz, a few loops from the new front-wheel drive Citroen 7 with integral all-steel welded body and no chassis. All's well, and the drive continues. But safety should above all be preventive, which means good road holding. On a model of the earlier type, the engine drives the rear wheels, which push the car against the air resistance or aerodynamic pressure. On a straight road, this is good enough. On a bend, it's another story. The rear drive wheels push the car out of the intended trajectory, while the front wheels skid in the direction of the bend. The grip of the wheels, or the action of the ground on the tires, obviously contributes to the steering action of the front wheels, and it becomes difficult to keep the car on the road if you're going fast. The front turns, the rear goes straight on, putting the car off balance. With the weight at the rear, the center of gravity is obviously further back. The strong centrifugal force, which on bends acts on this center of gravity, increases the force of the rear drive wheels. This tends to draw the rear of the vehicle outwards, making it pivot on the front wheel, with the danger of getting into a spin. With front-wheel drive, the power goes into the front wheels, by virtue of the principle that it's easier to pull a wheelbarrow than to push it, as any gardener will tell you. When you turn, the front wheels, which are both steering and drive wheels, pull the car in the direction of the bend, all the more because the weight at the front increases their grip. The rear wheels follow the heavier front of the car, so the vehicle doesn't swing out. On a front-wheel drive car, the center of gravity is well forward, so the centrifugal force acts very near the front wheels, which are pulling the car in the direction of the bend, and not along the car's axis, as with rear-wheel drive. The result is that for the same speed, a front-wheel drive car tolerates greater centrifugal force, so it can take a bend faster without the danger of getting out of control. There is, however, one condition. Since the front wheels pivot to steer the car, A way has to be found of transmitting the movement produced by the engine to them, whatever the position they're in. This movement also has to be transmitted to them continuously, even when they're going over bumps or holes in the road. The way of doing it is well known. It's called homokinetic transmission, and it's achieved by the use of special joints. These joints, which you can see working here, are designed to transmit to the wheels, in any conditions, the rotating movement generated by the engine at the uniform speed dictated by the gearbox. Having mastered the complex technology required to develop and manufacture these homokinetic joints early on, Citroen can now capitalize on its advance by selling the know-how to other manufacturers. The front-wheel drive Traction very quickly became the car to have if you wanted something safe, fast and reliable. Gangsters, the police, the Gestapo and the resistance. This was the car for all of them, in war and peace, the good guys and the bad guys. The Traction was completely at home in every class of society, transporting elegant ladies in all their finery, and tough customers looking ready for a brawl, racing drivers and presidents of the Republic. Tell the man why you're crying. You worried about the car? It's nothing. It'll be okay tomorrow. You'll be all right. You'll see. Among other records, the Traction broke the record of the fastest car to be developed, 13 months, and that has never been equaled since. In March 1933, André Citroen took on André Lefebvre. In May 1934, the first car was delivered. It was a 7A saloon, and it could do more than 100 kilometers an hour. At the beginning of summer 1934, a sports version appeared, the 7S, which in November became the famous Light 11 model, in which François Lecaux, a restaurant owner from La Roche-Taillée, covered 250,000 miles non-stop in 1 year, going backwards and forwards from Paris to Monte Carlo. Later, in 1938, the six-cylinder 15 reached 135 kilometers per hour, and was deservedly known as the Queen of the Road. In all, over 23 years, 4 months and 15 days, from the first 1934 7A to the last 1957 11D family saloon, Citroën produced 759,000 Tractions. But the story of the front-wheel drive car, the Traction, doesn't end with the model that in French bears its name. Since 1934, all the cars built by Citroën have been front-wheel drive. The 2CV, the DS, the Ami 6, the Méhari, the GS, the SM, the CX, the LN, the Visa, and the BX. Altogether, some 16 million cars. The 1934 front-wheel drive Traction was also the real starting point for all the important technical innovations which were to make Citroën's reputation. In answer to the integral all-steel welded body of 1934, we have a much lighter bodywork and new materials of the BX. In answer to the four-wheel torsion bar independent suspension, we have the hydropneumatic suspension of the DS, GS, CX and BX. In answer to production line hydraulic brakes, we have production line disc brakes on the DS from 1955. And so it goes on. The front-wheel drive Traction opened the way for the modern car. Even today, it still serves as an example, at Citroën and everywhere else. Vive la Traction.